Good evening, everyone. We want to thank you so much for joining us again tonight for a magnificent panel entitled Black Social Workers Impacting Community in celebration of National Social Work Month. Tonight, we have four of the most amazing social workers. I would say Louisiana because they live here, but I'm going to go ahead and say across the nation because they may reside here, but they are literally making impacts all across this country. We are going to have an opportunity to talk to them about their profession, what drives them each day, their practicing philosophies, and so many other wonderful things about their profession. I am extremely honored to have them here today, and I'm very thankful that they received the invitation to attend. So before we get into their biographies, I want to first ask you to share this video with others so that they can also tune into this discussion. Feel free to tag friends, and remember the comments are open for you to share any insight or input that you would like to provide. All right, so we're going to go ahead and start with the introductions for tonight's phenomenal panel. First, we have Ms. Donna Cole of Monroe, Louisiana, who has spent the last 20 years of her life dedicated to the advocacy of children and their families. She believes that the capacity that a child learns is all dependent upon the child's mental well-being. Ms. Cole took that deep desire to see children succeed and garnered her bachelor's degree in social work from the University of Louisiana at Monroe, a master's in psychology from the University of Phoenix, and a master's in social work from Walden University. She is a member of Calvary Baptist Church in West Monroe. She prides herself in being a positive inspiration to others, and she uses that spirit to bridge the gap between home and school as a social worker in Richland Parish. She believes that a child cannot learn if he or she bears the weight of being worried about what's going on at home. When she's not working as a child advocate, Donna spends her time with her sons, Jalen and Michael. She also enjoys working in the community with her sorority, Delta Sigma Theta, and the Junior League of Monroe. Through her life's experience, she's gained immense knowledge and wisdom, which allow her to demonstrate understanding and compassion toward others. So we're very excited to have Ms. Donna here today. Another social worker guest we have is Ms. Alexis Young. She is a licensed clinical social worker who has worked for over 12 years at the state and federal level, serving children and families in the area of clinical intervention, chronic illnesses, and program management for at-risk communities. In 2018, Alexis founded Therapeutic Wellness Solutions, LLC, which is a private counseling agency providing services to adolescents and adults in the area of trauma, depression, anxiety, and women's health issues. That same year, Alexis was appointed to the Louisiana Rehabilitation Council by Governor John Bel Edwards, where she serves passionately as a disability rights advocate and executive council member. And she also works at the supervisory level. So for those of you who are looking for a mentor, she is fantastic in that arena as well. Alexis is a mother of three and wife, and avidly enjoys spending time with the family and practicing yoga and meditation. And so we are so excited to have Ms. Young here. I always have to throw in that she is also my best friend. So she helps to manage me as well. I'm one of her favorite patients. We also are honored to have Mr. Antoine Butler, who is a native of Tampa, Florida, and a prominent pastor, social worker, and businessman in Shreveport and surrounding communities here in Louisiana. Mr. Butler has been pastoring for 11 years, and for the past 5, he has been the senior pastor of Dream Big Leadership Ministries in Shreveport, Louisiana, where the vision is to train today's leader for tomorrow's problems. He is currently the CEO for Dream Big Counselor Service as a licensed clinical social worker, specializing in clinical treatment to all-age youth, adolescents, and adults. Mr. Butler is a board-approved clinical supervisor, licensed clinical pastoral counselor, licensed clinical Christian counselor, and certified temperament counselor through the Sarasota Christian Counseling Academy and the Northwest Christian Counselors Association. He is also a trust-based relational intervention practitioner with unique skills to build relationships between children and parents. He will be conferred with his doctoral degree in theology and philosophy at Louisiana Baptist University and Caddo Theological Seminary in Shreveport in May of 2021. However, his greatest joy is being the husband to Tanisha Butler and father of his three sons, Sir Titus, Sir Legend, and Sir Christian Butler. Last but certainly not least, we're so happy to have Mr. Andrew Wilson. Mr. Andrew Wilson received an undergraduate degree in general studies from LSU in 1982 and a master's degree in social work from Grambling State University in 2004. He currently serves as CEO of Social Work Professional Services LLC, where the agency is responsible for providing community-based behavioral health services, professional development services for individuals pursuing social work licensure, continuing education credits, and test preparation for LMSW, LCSW examinations. Prior to providing clinical service in the mental health sector, Andrew was employed with the Department of Children and Family Services for over 20 years as an investigator, Family Services Unit, Specialized Foster Care Unit, FC Supervisor, Regional Program Specialist, and Continuous Quality Improvement Manager. When he helped to monitor child welfare staff areas of practice, making sure field staff were utilizing best practices, and was responsible for training staff on implementing new child welfare initiatives. Prior to practicing child welfare in Shreveport, he also works in home development in New York City. Andrew is known to be deeply connected to the community he serves and has been awarded several accolades and acknowledgments for his service over the years. He has received several awards by the National Association of Black Social Workers, National Association of Social Workers, and Alpha Kappa Alpha Volunteer Service Award. Presently, he serves as the President Emeritus of the Association of Black Social Workers, Shreveport Region, and member of a Rules Committee and Interorganization Committee of the LABSWE. Let me tell you something, social workers. You all work these vocal cords tonight, okay? I had to dig into my speaker box and give out these esteemed credentials. But I wanted to make sure to share this information with everyone because it's so important that people know the credentials that you hold and that you are trained experts in your field and how passionate you are about what you do. For those who are tuning in for the first time, I'm Jamie Mays, a 13-year educator, bachelor's degree from LSU, master's degree from ULM, and educational specialist degree from North Central University. I'm the author of 7 books and the owner of Jamie Mays Educational Consulting and Literacy Services LLC. All small things for me. Most importantly, I am an advocate for mankind with a passion for empowering the community and showing positive love to everyone. We're so excited and honored to talk with these amazing social workers tonight, and we can't wait to get down to the conversation at hand. I want to remind everyone to please feel free to speak your heart and be free flowing. I will mute your mics just so we can make sure to decrease the amount of static. But if you need to say anything, just feel free to unmute your mic so that you can share your words. If you see me looking down, I'm simply either sharing a post or getting the next question ready, but I am definitely listening to everything you say. I want to start first by asking, you've already introduced yourselves, and I've shared a little bit about your professional background, but I would like for you all to tell us more about the settings you have worked in, because I think that's so important for people to know. People think that social workers are often limited to state positions or working at our schools, but there's so many different positions you can work in. I'd like to start with Donna, and then we'll continue to go.
Okay, I have experience as a child welfare worker. I did foster care for 7.5 years. I have experience in mental health / psychology, and now I am a school social worker. So over the past 20 years, I have experience in all 3 of those fields, as well as working in the community and working with individuals and families.
Amazing. Awesome. Awesome. Mr. Butler, can you share with everyone?
Yeah, so I straight out of school, I started working in mental health rehab as a mental health professional, and then I later moved on to it into administration and mental health rehab. Then I worked as a child welfare specialist in the foster care program. And then I uh, became a MST supervisor, which is multi-systemic therapy. It's more mental health. Then I later went to work for the VA as a readjustment counselor for combat veterans, and then became a clinical director for a program called Wraparound, which is a coordinated system of care program that helps kids who are troubled. And in between doing that, I've maintained a private practice for about 11 years.
Okay, am I up? Okay. So I started off with, ironically, Mr. Wilson was my supervisor right out of undergraduate school and graduate school. So I started off my career in child welfare services, and went on to work with, after that, I had a short stint with child and welfare services in Oakdale, Louisiana. Spent time with the Department of Defense, working with Army Community Services, with service members and their spouses and their children, and then went on to work in the clinical setting with children at Arkansas Children's Hospital, where I was able to work with chronic illness, diabetes, HIV, and also in a continuity care clinic where we saw the, you name it, on a daily basis. Um, and then became a school social worker thereafter, and found that my passion really was with clinical intervention with children and families, and being able to do that on a daily basis led me to open my private practice, which I am doing today.
Fantastic resume as well, Michelle. You've done some great things. All of you guys have done such amazing things. And Mr. Wilson, if you could share with us as well.
Yes, I'm Andrew Wilson. Hello, everybody. It's good to see everybody here. And where haven't I worked? I started out with Department of Children and Family Services, where I met Alexis. Actually, Alexis was my first intern. You know, I think I did pretty good because she is doing so well.
Yeah.
And Antoine is a mentee of myself. But basically, I did child welfare. I've done mental health. I've done. I work with perpetrators of domestic violence, called Batterers Intervention Program. Uh, Private practice, uh, and a lot of volunteer work is which I'm most proud of. Working with prisons, in correctional facilities, in a special unit where addiction abounds. And Antoine, I don't. Y'all need to send me this link again, so I won't be holding my cell phone. See, it's moving all over the place.
It's in your email. So if you can open your email and you want to log in so that you're in a more comfortable position, you
Yeah,
should be able to do that.
yeah.
Yes, sir.
I'm rebooting my computer. Y'all
Okay.
go ahead, and I'm gonna come back in.
Okay. Sounds good. Sounds
Thank
good.
you. All right.
So I want to first acknowledge how amazing it is that you all have worked in such a wide range of areas, and even the comment by Mr. Wilson to say that one of his greatest contributions to his career has been serving others, and in essence, that's what you all do all day long is serve others. So I want to start by asking you the question: how did you land in social work? How did you get here? How did you know that this was absolutely it? And I'll let whoever would like to start. All right. So it looks like Alexis. Let's go ahead.
Okay. So I'll go ahead and jump in first. I always wanted to do something within the helping field. I thought initially that it would be psychology, and actually started off as a psychology major at Grambling. Um, but it turned out that I went a different route, obviously. One of my professors pulled me to the side. She was actually in one of the psychology classes that I was taking, and she said, I think you would be a good fit for social work. She said, I'm not trying to, pull you over, but I kind of am. And I realized that that really was the route that I wanted to go. Being that I have a family member who actually experienced some time within foster care, and I had an interest anyway in high school. And so as I learned more about the profession and the fact that I could be a clinical therapist, even with a degree in social work, I thought, okay, this is the avenue that I want to be in, and started out with volunteer work even in high school, working with children, and just knew that this was where I wanted to be. And just kind of, it really just grew. The classes that I was able to take, I loved. And whenever I got into the profession, um, I just knew that this was where I needed to be, helping families, helping the community, not being limited to a certain population. I just enjoyed it.
I think it's so interesting that you share the idea that you had an idea of where you wanted to end up, but you didn't quite know how to get there. And a person came to you and said, "Hey, I have the pathway to help you." And I think that's absolutely amazing, and it's such an important part about of today's society, right? We have to have more people who are willing to step up and help you get on that path to do what you're doing now, which is revolutionizing the lives of others. Amazing. Mr. Butler, did you want to share next? How did you end up as a social worker?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So I actually didn't focus on being a social worker. I was on an athletic scholarship in junior college for playing basketball. I'll be honest with you, when I was in junior college, I took the easiest classes that I could take, which then was liberal arts. So I have an associate's degree in that, and I can't tell you what I learned. Um, but then I got offered a scholarship to a university in Missouri, and I asked them what's the easiest thing that I could take, and they told me sociology. So I took sociology classes, and I got a bachelor's degree in sociology. And I really can't tell you what I learned, being honest with you. But when I graduated, I realized you can't do anything with a bachelor's degree in sociology. So I had a teammate who told me that he was getting ready to go into the social work program at Grambling State University, and I should check it out because he thought that I was really good with people. And so I visited Grambling State's campus during the spring break and talked to the staff, and I had to take the GRE exam, and I called around to every university in the country, and they saw my grades and they laughed. But Grambling said we'll let you in on academic probation. So I ended up going to GSU, and my friend he never even went. So I got down there, and I realized that I liked it, and I think a lot of it came from my background because I'm a former foster child. I grew up in the streets of Tampa, Florida. Most of my childhood, I was homeless. So ate out of trash cans, slept on park benches, the whole gamut. And I saw social work as an opportunity to help people who were in similar situations that I was in. And then I think my passion with helping people just was wed to what social work has to offer, in particular, what Grambling had to offer. And I met my wife there. I was in my first year in grad school. She was in her senior year. She was a social work student as well. And I kind of fell into it like that. So been in love with it ever since. But I think God just kind of guided me in that direction. I didn't know what I was doing. So that's how it happened.
I think it's so amazing that you say you kind of stumbled your way along the way for a minute, but ended up in a position where you are now helping to touch the lives of many people who come from the same background you did. Destiny, right?
Right,
Destiny.
absolutely.
That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. All right, Miss Donna, how did you end up here in this profession? What got you in?
So kind of like everybody else, it's something that I ran from initially. When I first went to college, social work was not my major. Business was, because all along, I wanted to own a business. I wanted to make money. I wanted to be my own boss and just, do what I wanted to do. So I just kept running and running and running. But all the time I'm running, people are coming to me about helping them with things. People are coming to me to try to solve problems and things like that. And so my best friend's mother is a social worker. My former dance teacher is a social worker. And so one day I just had a conversation with them, and I was like, you know what? Let me just give this a try. So after I had my son Jalen, I went back to school and I changed my major to social work. And I have not looked back ever since. It is a very fulfilling career. It does have its challenges. A lot of money in it, but the reward to me comes from making a positive difference in the lives of the people that we serve. The reward to me comes from children who just run up to you and hug you and tell you thank you. The reward to me comes from that elderly who is just appreciative of you coming, of course, before COVID, to just come and sit down and talk to her and just ease her mind. The appreciation to me comes from that father who is trying to raise his children to the best of his ability without even really knowing what he's doing, especially those who are raising daughters. So my rewards are not monetary. My rewards come from the hugs, the thank yous, the cries, the stories, and the calls that I still get now from children who I have helped over the 20 years.
That's absolutely amazing. When you talk about that career appreciation, right, quite often, we truly talk about whether we can be compensated for the work we put in. The answer is no. When you're operating within your calling and your passion and what you know you're supposed to be doing. But the refreshing part is realizing that you are, in whatever you're doing, making a positive impact every day and fulfilling your responsibility. I love that. So, Mr. Wilson, how did you land in the social work world changing lives?
Well, when I was growing up, I heard of a place where everybody is somebody, you know. And since I was nobody, I went to Grambling and became somebody, you know. And
Can you turn your mic up? We can't hear you that well.
let me see here.
There we go.
Yeah, I said I went to a place where everybody is somebody. I had heard about it as a kid. Yeah, it's Grambling State University, and so I went there. Sorry if we got any jags up here, but no, I when I was growing up, I realized that there were so many haves and have-nots.
We can't hear you that well.
Excuse me.
It's a little bit low. We can't hear you that well.
Okay, turn it up a little bit.
There you go. We can hear you now.
That's better.
That's much better.
Yeah, and I grew up in an environment where there was a lot of poverty around, but I had the presence of mind that I knew across the tracks there was a better way for people, and I became attracted to one of the values of social work profession, which is social justice and social advocacy, and that sold me. You know, that sold me right there. That pulled me in. We are the only profession that's concerned about the human condition and the well-being of groups that have been historically been marginalized. And that's how I became a social worker. That provoked my interest.
I have a question. I know we kind of set up a tone for things, and so if everybody doesn't want to answer this question, that is absolutely okay. But it's one that just struck me as I listened to everybody talking about their experiences, poverty. I know Alexis and I, single parent home, having children, all of these things. And one of the questions that came to mind for me is, what do you feel makes the Black social worker experience unique in influencing the world around us, and not just one group of people, but every single group? Is there anybody that would like to approach that question to me? Because I think that's, as I think about all the different challenges we have sitting in this small group, What is it that you feel makes the Black social worker experience um, a little bit different from what other people may be able to bring to the table? And if you can raise your hand, I'll know which mic to turn on, and just give me a little finger. Anybody? Okay, we'll start with Alexis, and then we'll go to Mr. Butler. All right, go ahead.
Okay. Um, Specifically as of late, what I have found as a Black social worker in the field is that people are seeking out folks who look like them, because they want their voices to really be heard. They want to be able to identify with the person that they're confiding in. And so, I mean, I feel so proud and honored, that when, on any day with anybody of any race, but I feel even more proud and honored when an individual who looks like me, says, I feel so much more comfortable with you. I, feel like I am being heard. I feel like I am being seen. And that says to me that Black social workers are needed. Always have been, always will be, but now more so than ever, just because people's voices have been silenced for so long. Individuals have been told, people of color have been told, that okay, well, you'll be okay, right? You'll be okay with this family. You'll be okay with this particular therapist. You'll be okay with this particular social worker, right? But not really paying attention to what their needs are as individuals and as people of color. And so I really feel like that has been for me such a moment of honor and a moment of pride to be able to be um, a Black woman in the field of social work, and to be able to speak to people who look like me and give them a feeling of confidence, right? And being able to share their story. Um, you know, there are several people that we have that are allies in helping with social justice, as Mr. Wilson just talked about. But it is different when you have actually walked the walk. It is different. And it's important for individuals that we're helping in the communities to believe that we have a stake in their fight. Their fight, they feel like their fight is actually our fight, because that is true.
Thank you, Ms. Young. That's so awesome. Mr. Butler, what would you say? How has that, being a Black social worker, how has that um, really made your experience significant in your impact?
Yeah, I agree with my sister Alexis. I want to make this point. There was some research done in the 1960s, and the research was trying to find out. So in the next 50 or 60 years, next 50 to 100 years, where was America going to be? Like, what was going to really make America a strong nation? And there was some leading social engineers. I can't think of the doctor who headed up this work, but it was a white guy. And in his research, what he said was, if America was going to be a strong nation, then the African American people were going to have to be in a position of equality. And not only just that, the African American male was going to have his place. If he wasn't, then we were going to see the decadence and the moral fiber of America go down the drains. Well, the administration at that time wanted to dismiss that work, but I'm looking at 2021, and everything that he said was true. As much as we tried to dismiss the African American man and the woman, this country needs us, right? Because this is our country. So I think what has happened, I'm gonna talk about on the macro level. I think what has happened, the old folks used to say, "What don't kill you make you stronger." Some semblance of that is true. We've known what it's like to try to be killed, but at the same time, we've developed a deep sense of resiliency from not being killed, and have been equipped with some things that your average human being have been equipped with. I give you some examples of that. That's just not hype. That's real hope. What people do you know 100 years after slavery can generate a renaissance? Talking about Harlem, right? So I think that we are in a we're in a position as social workers, black social workers, not only just to save black America, but to save America, right? So I think we have been equipped with some things that have come down, and you can do a study on epigenetics. It talks about how we have certain traits that are passed down to us that you didn't teach. You know, Big Mama had it because Big Mama was being beat, and she still had to keep her family together. She tough. So now I'm tough as nails because Big Mama was tough as nails. That we need in this society where we don't have a moral compass, right? In this society where our kids are suicidal at alarming rates, we have a disintegration of the family unit. We got more single family homes than we ever had in Black America before. We need somebody with deep levels of resiliency, critical thinkers, and people who've been through stuff, right? So I think that's our position now. So this is the time where you really should hold your head up high, have your chest out if you're a black social worker, right? Because not only are you needed, are you needed? It's a mandate for your. This is a call. It's a mandate for your ministry right now. So we're strategically, and I believe positioned by God. I got theological assurances of that. I'm not gonna go into that. I can show you Bible on it, but we're in a good place.
Look, I have no objections to bringing in the word. I'm all for it, okay? Because we're all for knowing that God positions us all
Right,
to do what we need to do. So there are no limits on that. And
right,
and for so many people who are listening, so much of what they believe, and even the way that they are preparing to cope with the challenges they face are Bible based. So we do have to do more of getting people to understand that every calling, we don't have to be in the church doors to fulfill our calling. We are being placed in position where people will need us. So I love that you even look, you don't have to drop a scripture for us to clarify how essential it is that you are being positioned for a time such as this. So that's absolutely amazing. I got a little bit of chills when you made the reference to Big Mama always coping and knowing what to do to keep a family together. Because as we look now, we hear a lot of people always talking about the negatives of the Black family, but we forget those positive things that have gotten us to the point where we are today, so that we can continue to emotionally evolve and grow and go to the next level of positive living. So that I love that statement. Is there anybody else that wanted to talk about how the Black social work experience is unique? Go ahead, Ms. Cole, please.
Yes, I would just like to piggyback off of what my colleagues have already stated, especially in regards to the Black family and the single parent homes, standing up and making a stand, not only in our community, but in our family. Because sometimes even within our own blood families, we are ostracized, we are, cast out, we are looked upon differently because we take a different stance from everybody else. They label us as, oh, she thinks she's too good, or oh, why he think he can do that, or why he want to change something. But the thing of it is that the time is now. We have to change. We've seen so many things over the last few years, even just from 2020 to 2021. So many things that we should not be seeing in 2021. And like they've already stated, ironically, when they go to look for help, they want the social workers. They want the social workers going out with police. They want the social workers on the front lines. And for so long, just like with teachers, social workers have been overlooked, especially the Black social workers, especially the Black mothers and the Black men. And I thank you so much for making that come to the forefront about the Black men and the families and about the ministry, because I made a Facebook post about that the other day, and I said that just because we are not ministers, by trade or ordained ministers, that doesn't mean that we don't have a calling on our lives. That doesn't mean that we cannot go out into the community to minister, to those who we do come in contact with. And in my opinion, being a social worker is a ministry. It's a passion, especially for those of us who take our careers seriously. And in 2021, there are certain conversations that we should not even have to have, especially when it comes down to race, especially when it comes down to equality and gender equality. We just shouldn't even be having these conversations, but we are. And like they stated, especially what Alexis stated about children seeing us and seeing somebody who looks like us, seeing somebody wearing, the braid, seeing somebody with the blonde hair, seeing somebody with the natural hair. Because for so long, our girls and our women were taught that your hair has to be straight. You can't have color hair. Our boys were taught that, well, you'll never be anything. Well, it was a teacher and a social worker and Big Mama who taught them differently. And that's why the conversation needs to be had now more often than ever.
Definitely, definitely. I
Yeah,
definitely
yeah,
agree. Mhm.
yeah. If I may, I think that it's in our Antoine said it best. It's in our DNA. We have. It's no accident that we're in the profession of social work. None of us. Um, we were born out of struggle. It's in our DNA to struggle. And there's an African concept called Ubuntu. We are one. That's what it means. And so when my brother is injured or he's wounded or hurt, so am I. We are intertwined. And so we understand struggle. We understand the school of hard knocks. We know what it is to be impoverished, to be hungry. And so we are specially equipped and made for this journey, you know and it's just a beautiful thing. But I wanted to get back to what one of the sisters said. Antoine and I, we talk about that all the time. Ain't no money in it. Woe is me. I totally disagree. And you know what happens? It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So if a man think it, so is he. Uh, I teach my mentees to negotiate their salary. You know, don't just fall for the nickels and dimes. We are highly educated. You know, I don't know about you guys. I'm still paying on my school loan. Okay, and I've graduated over a decade ago. So our salaries are coming up, but they are only going to rise if we hold ourselves in higher esteem. They told me at Grambling, sit at the head of the table. Uh, you may remember her, Dr. Shane Brennan, that we are second to none. When you were having a multidisciplinary staffing, don't sit back in the shadow. Oh, I'm just a social worker. No, you know the flavor. You know, you know your client. Who better know their client than us social workers? So I just want to share that. We need to expect more and raise our profession up on a higher level than we've had. We've shortchanged ourselves.
That's a
So
massive statement of so many levels.
mhm.
And I'm gonna let Alexis talk. Go ahead.
Okay. So I know that we have other questions that you have to get to, Jamie, but I
Yes,
did
you're all
want
right.
to.
Keep going.
Okay, I wanted to piggyback off of what Mr. Wilson said, because I do agree that we do have to continue to make sure that our profession is rising to the level of our abilities. And how do we do that? We have to advocate for what it is that we do. Because we are such a serving profession, we don't always talk about what it is that we do, you
Yes.
know? So, personally, I have been attempting to do a better job of talking about what it is that I do publicly, um, showing organizations what it is that we can do as social workers to help them, right? What kind of opportunities for training do you all have? Social workers can help you with that. It is about showing people the things that they didn't know that they needed, showing people the places that there might be some cracks that can be mended, right? What better do social workers do? What do we do better than mend cracks? Not only with just children and families, but within large organizations on the macro level. So I have to agree with Mr. Wilson that we have room as social workers. We have to challenge each other to uplift our profession, right? Because we are not paid equally sometimes, a lot of times, but we have to negotiate our salaries. And I'm becoming more and more confident in that every time I every time I have an opportunity, I'm going to advocate for what it is that we do as social workers and why we deserve that dollar amount.
And believe it or not, I'm so happy that we really dug into the nuggets of that part of the conversation because we are in a money driven society right now. And there are so many times that people shy away from certain professions because they feel they will not be compensated for the amount of work they put in. And so we need people to understand that this is a profession where not only can you make money, but you can also become your own business owner and seize great opportunities to continue to build yourself. And so this nugget, this is the wisdom that needs to be at the table for people who are watching this interview and are contemplating: do I want to stay here? What opportunities exist for me? What pathway can I navigate? Am I limited if I take this pathway? And so you guys just open up a whole mental roadway for people who need to know what benefits can I get by entering this profession. Because it's wonderful for us to give, and that's where I can certainly relate as a high school teacher for many years, right? But at some point, we want to know as well, how can we also be fulfilled through our jobs? And I don't care what anyone says, making sure our coins match our work is one of the best ways possible. We want to lay our head in a comfortable space after we beat the pavement for this world each day. So I think that's an amazing nugget to dig into. And as I've shared before, look, I am not a control freak. When it comes to conversations, honey, if you leave it up to me, we can go to the moon and back. So this is for you. You take it where you like. So I'm going to go to the next question, which is interesting because I feel like Donna hit on that earlier. What do you consider to be the most challenging part of your profession? And when she talked about family, I was like, we're already digging into what are the challenges of working as a social worker. Whoever would like to start, you can kick it off.
Well, with me, it's getting people from point A to point B. Oftentimes I work with populations that has a lot of have-nots, and where basic needs aren't being met. And it's hard to do psychotherapy when you don't know where your next meal gonna come from, where you gonna stay, and so that make any psycho skills or psychotherapy techniques that you have, it makes it irrelevant because the client's basic needs haven't been met, like financial needs and different resources that are unavailable to them, such as housing. It's something that's inherently wrong with the system. Like for brother or sister go down to the correctional facility and get a record, get a rap, and then you come out. Now you
Right.
don't qualify for public housing. So the system is designed, and it's not by accident. I believe it's designed like that to hurt people that look like me. There's no accident if I go to jail and come back out, I can't find housing or I can't vote. That was strategically done and put in place. So that's where I'm at on that.
Oh, Mr. Wilson, you make a powerful statement, and
Mm, thank you.
I was riled up in that one because I fully agree with you, and I think that unfortunately that component deals into when you start talking about even incarceration and how we claim that we want people to come back and to be healed and fixed, but we don't really provide incarcerated people with the tools they need
We don't.
inside the prison system or outside of the prison system. We don't give them the help they need inside to get back in a good mental place. And when they get out, we snatched our resources and rights from them
That's
and
right.
lower their self confidence.
Hmm.
So you talk a very strong and important word right there. And I can only imagine what it's like because I always tell Alexis one thing that I admire so much about social workers is that you all are about solutions. You don't just come to the table for a conversation. I used to enjoy hearing her just talk about picking up gift cards and to make sure her clients had certain things. And
Mhm.
Providing them with certain tools to help them get on the pathway. And as a teacher, I was always talking to her about social emotional learning. So she was always giving me tools and then not just telling me tips, but saying, this is where you can access this resource. This is where you can access that resource. So I know that the mission of problem solving is very big to you all. So if you're not being given the resources you need to help people, I can only imagine the weight that it is for a social worker to not to say, I've gone as far as I can, but I know this person needs more. So anybody else, what is your biggest challenge as a social worker? Anybody else want to share? Mr. Butler, yes, sir.
Yeah, I think for me, and it's probably not as specific as helping somebody s- secure resources or helping them to put their family back together. I'll be honest with you, I struggle a lot with watching people come in and out of my office and out of organizations and institutions, like who don't have a value of their own self worth. Um, I think a lot of what people go through stems from that, and I'm not negating the fact that people don't have what they need. I think that just puts you in a position where it takes the fight out of you. So I found being in my position as a social worker, and it's just me personally. I can't speak for everybody else on the panel. I think it's getting increasingly hard to really help people, like really help people, without giving some part of yourself to them, to help them gain some sense of value and self worth. And I find that gets harder and harder to do, especially with younger people who have so many other things pulling at them and telling them who they are. Um, so I find myself emotionally and spiritually drained as I do this longer and longer, and then having to deal with my own levels of trauma, knowing that I've
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
spent a lot of my soul and efforts and energy with people, and you watch them go back to situations that
Yes.
they're not supposed to be in. But once again, it's that I don't see myself, Mr. Butler, like you see me. I hear you keep saying I'm worth it and I'm awesome but I don't see it yet. So that thermostat itself back to the temperature that it's set on, and I find that for me to be challenging, and that might just be my own ego or my own temperament, which always wants to believe the best in people and see the best in people, which is not always realistic. So I find that challenging a lot.
Look, I understand, and we've talked about this in the teaching world, with the idea that we want to see every student excel. I know for me in particular, every student pass, every student reach their fullest potential. And for many years in my profession, I was like, I would beat myself up because I couldn't understand why this student didn't see their potential, why this child didn't make a change, while I tried to reach this family and build a relationship with them, but they did not receive it. And eventually I had to get to the point where I said, some people will get it now, some people will get it later. Unfortunately, some may never get it.
Yeah,
I had to live on the side of, have you shown up every day to
yeah,
do for it? Because when you work in a serving field, you count, it's uncomfortable to say, but we count our successes and our ability to make an impact. But our impact is not weighed or judged based on whether or how they respond. Our impact is guided based on whether or not we did our part.
right.
So yes, I completely understand how you feel, and I can understand the challenge of that. That is a profound statement and definitely relatable. Anybody else want to share what do you feel your greatest challenge is in the profession? Okay, that was amazing. I think it's a pretty universal mindset. It's between giving the resources and helping people see their potential, because those are the only two main things you feel that you want to do. And Miss Young, go ahead, please.
Okay, yeah. So I wanted to piggyback off of uh what Mr. Butler just said, because and you as well, Miss Mays, because I totally can empathize with you, in feeling, because we're empathetic creatures, right? Both social workers, the social work profession, and individuals in the education field, teachers, right? We are empathetic beings, and so because I was feeling that so heavily, like every day, I said, I'm going to have to sow into myself, so much so that I can't meet my clients until I have sown into myself, right? I have to sow into myself in a way that I understand that, just what you said, Miss Mays, that what I do is separate from what my clients' actions are, right? And my focus began to shift with my clients. It became so strengths focused. Everything became strengths focused. Everything became them working through their trauma, making reassociations with their past experiences, so that they were not holding on to the narratives from their past, right? And that was guiding all of their decisions for the present and the future. And it was so helpful for me to see the light bulb go off in them. Even if you have times where they come back, and it's like, well, I engaged in this, and I know that I feel bad about it. But even when I could see the light bulb go off, right, it was like, okay, I am starting to feel differently about myself. And when you can hear them verbalize it, it's so much different than me saying it. I really can't explain it. It's like, it's so much different than me saying. It's like you now almost even believe what it is that I've been saying to you, right? Because I don't want to just be saying it like you all said. I really want to see that you are getting it. And so when they come back and they say they have made, and then the focus is also shifted from how we talk about how we celebrate victories. Are we just celebrating the huge victories, or are we celebrating the small wins? We celebrate a whole lot of small wins with the clients that I see. I know that's for you guys too, and teaching them that it's okay, because we're not always given permission and space to celebrate small wins. We're just not. It's like, if you didn't score a touchdown, we ain't even worried about what you did at the game, you know. And it's like, but man, I got out there on the field though. So teaching teaching our clients to celebrate the smaller victories, so that they can start to see their worth, and also sewing into myself every day. And admit that I had to learn how to set boundaries. I
Yes.
had to learn how to set some boundaries, because I was not good at that. I had to be honest. I had to do some self-reflection, like, whew, so that I could be able to show up more effectively with my clients, and also with my own family. So the transformation, while it's still going on, has been so helpful for me. And it did start with my clients, though. It started with me feeling like I wasn't, I'm gonna just say it flat out, I wasn't being as effective as I wanted to be, because it was like, okay, we made some strides, but we're regressing. We made some strides, but we're regressing.
I think that that's, first of all, that's an amazing transparency moment to say, I was not satisfied with what I was seeing in my clients. So I had to reassess myself, right? And see, what am I doing, that is not pushing pushing all of my clients forward, or guiding them and meeting with them as they go forward the way that I would like for them to. And so that's a very bold but honest statement to make, because in all professions, when we're not getting the results we want, not only do we have to assess our audience, but we legitimately have to assess self. So I think that's such a bold and courageous statement to make. And I think it speaks volumes as well about how we have to shift our perspective on caring for everybody else by also caring for ourselves. And I would say that that's definitely been, I think I can share this, that's been a journey between me and Alexis for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Having known each other all our lives, in a sense, we're always emotion checking
Mm-hmm.
each other as now parents, right? And in our relationships, and remembering that if we're not clocking in, we have the same philosophy about our professions, which is when we serve others, we only want to give them our best. And so I know that everybody sitting on this panel has the same mindset, that you're clocking in every day to give people your best. And so even if you are facing these challenges each day, I listen to all the things you all are saying, and I just can't of how much you're pouring in when you wake up in the morning. Like you wake up ready to hit the ground, ready to impact the lives of others, and what you're giving is valuable, even if you still look at it and say, "How can I give more?" I think that's such an amazing mindset for to sit on this panel and every single person here say, I'm always looking for a way to give more to the people I serve." It's just amazing to hear. Is there anybody else who wanted to say anything about that question, the most challenging aspect of your profession? I think you shared some amazing things. So next thing, my next question is, I've noticed that social workers, and I said this before, that you don't just provide therapy, you believe in providing resources. Why do you believe that therapy is just as critical as resources? And Mr. Butler definitely talked on this a moment ago. So if there's anything else you wanted to add, but why do you think that therapy, the therapeutic part, is just as emotional as making sure they have the things they need? Anybody want to start us? Okay, yes, Miss Donna, please.
I think that the therapy is just as equally important as having the resources because in therapy we learn the strategies, we learn the coping skills, we learn the techniques that will remain with us. And sometimes resources aren't always available. Um, and if we have those coping skills, if we have those strategies, and if we have those techniques, and we know how to implement them at the given time, then some of those things may even take the place of the resources. So that's why I think that it's important for us to make sure that our clients do have the techniques, the coping skills, the strategies, to know how to navigate around different things in different situations. Like someone mentioned earlier, being able to use those critical thinking skills, being able to actively listen, and being able to be present in the moment even when things are not going the way that we want them to go. So sometimes, having those types of strategies and techniques will oftentimes take the place of the resources.
Amazing. I like when you say sometimes not having those resources, giving people the right strategies and techniques will take the place of that. That's amazing. And when I think about what Mr. Butler said about what matters so much to him and what the challenge is with his profession, it fits right in with that. It fits right in like the next puzzle piece. Anybody else? Why is the therapy aspect just as important as the resources? Anybody want to share anything? Hold on, I'm coming, Mr. Wilson. Go ahead.
I'd like to say that before you get out of this world, all of us, we're going to be wounded. And with that said, we have unrecognized and untreated wounds. You know, many of us go to our graves with wounds that have never been addressed or dealt with. So therapy is important. You know, all of us are injured. I heard a lady at my church do a message one day comparing injuries to a soldier on a battlefield,
Mm,
wounded but yet walking.
mm,
And so are we, wounded but walking. And just think back to our ancestors, the wounds that they endured,
yeah.
having never been treated,
Mm.
and it's a good question. I'm glad you put that in there.
Well, thank you.
Mhm. That's a good question. Trauma.
You're dabbling on, dabbling on that black generational trauma is a real passion for me, and
Yeah.
Mr. Wilson, I'll be talking to you later because that's a big one,
Well,
and
thank you.
you're opening up a whole world of conversation that I think is important to the black community, and honestly could change how so many people feel about asking for mental health support. Uh,
Hmm.
and there are so many people I find in our community that feel that mental health issues are your fault. They don't look at it as it's not always something, I did or necessarily something I did. Sometimes they're just things that have happened in life, but sometimes I just need more help to get me where I want to be. And so often I think that if we understood more about the generational experiences our people
Mm. Oh
had,
yeah.
people would free themselves of feeling that we as the black community have to continue to wear this cloak that says I'm strong, I don't get broken,
Right.
I can carry the weight, because we don't have to continue to do that. We can go into a place that's going to allow us to heal. So you're every time you get that little spoon of that culture with the cultural grits. I'm like, oh, I just want to go deeper into that, but we'll go in a whole different direction tonight. But it's so important. It's so important. Um, Mr. Butler, did you have anything you wanted to add to that? You said such profound nuggets earlier that led us here. I didn't know if you had anything else you wanted to say about that.
No, I just I echo Andrew's sentiments. I think we didn't have a problem really with therapy till we started giving the words like therapy and counseling. That's always been a part of the human process. For us to learn how to navigate our lives from somebody else who has more information than us.
Yeah.
So it's not like therapists just sitting in this high academic seat because you've been to school. We've been counseling each other. It just used to be on a Sunday when your uncle, your aunt, and your great grandmama was there. So we got a separation, that generational gap. But we've always done that. So it don't make any difference to have resources and not have anybody in your life to teach you how to guide, how to use those resources. I say this all the time, and I firmly believe this, and I'm writing a book on this called Black Flight. It's interesting to me in the '60s and the civil rights movement that they were able to do so much, for African American people with very little. Now you look at 2021, we got all these rappers, entertainers, and
Mhm.
political figures who have quote unquote resources and assets, but we able to do very little in comparison to what they were able to do. Well, why? Because there was think tanks that were passing information around how do we utilize what we have. We have very little of that as a quote unquote black congregation. We've compartmentalized that into just having individual counseling sessions. You know what I'm saying? So we, as a village, we've always done that. We've always sat down and say, boy, come over here. Let me tell you what you need to be doing with that.
You're
You
right.
know, you
You're
got you got people got stimulus checks now. They got a stimulus check. They went straight to the mall. There was no voice of reason. Nobody sitting down. But you gotta pay a therapist to tell you what to do with your money. So I'm just saying we've always done that. I just think we've gotten frightened by that word therapy and counseling, and it's become taboo. And unfortunately, people have who don't have those voices of reason in their life haven't had an opportunity to have access to like a Donna or or Andrew or somebody a figure who can help them navigate through that because it was up under the guise of therapy. So to me, those things go hand in hand. They're two-sided coin. You can't have resources and without a mind to use those resources, you'll just end up like the person who wins the lottery ticket. You just watch their life for 24 months. They'll be right back where they started. And that's all of us. That's not just of our clients. That's
yeah,
all of us would be that way. We just happen to have some skills that are transferable. So
yeah,
you
yeah,
got to have.
absolutely. You know what? I just keep loving to hear you connect aspects of what you do to everyday life. When you keep saying us, we've always done this. Look, I'm just, and
It's
in
true.
a sense, what you're doing is you're welcoming us into the room with you as an extension of the support community. Look, I'm no different than your favorite uncle. I just came here to talk with you. And I'm thinking about how important that is to women as well, but especially to so many men, to see you come up as the friend, not as this man or your therapist that makes you feel intimidated to talk to him. Hey, I'm your homeboy, that's here to talk to you about the same things you would have talked to your grandfather about. He's not here anymore, but I'm here. And I just love the energy you are giving that way, because it's so important for people to know that when I call and talk to my counselor, my therapist, my social worker, I'm talking to somebody that is a cheerleader for me. Not somebody that I have to feel like I'm walking on sticks around, or somebody that I'm afraid may judge me, but somebody that's here to help me get to my next level. And I love when you continue to make those correlations between the people who are already in our lives or have been our lives, right? That's an amazing point to make. I saw some people wanting to speak, and Alexis, yes, yes.
I don't know if somebody else had their hand up, but I wanted to just kind of echo what's already been said, because everything has been said. It's just I'm just sitting here listening and just soaking it all in, loving it. But first, Miss Donna, when you said it's important for us to be able to teach skills so that individuals will know, okay, even though I don't have, this is what I can do. These are the coping strategies that I have so that I can be okay within my body, right? Uh, that's important. That's really important that we can learn, that we know that we can learn that, like we can show that we have control over some stuff, because we are a community who has historically not had control over much. And
Yes.
whenever you don't even feel like you have control over your body, you don't feel like you can make anything happen. So I just wanted to echo that, Ms. Donna. That is so important, so important. I totally agree with that. And then just to echo what Mr. Butler said, as well as Mr. Wilson, is just so deep. My husband and I had this conversation. Now this is a little bit different, but talking about Black flight, talking about um, the need for us to reconnect, because that part has sort of been lost because we have assimilated to westernized society so much. We need our mamas, we need our grandmamas, we need our grandpas, we need our uncles. Let me tell y'all something. My grandfather used to pick me and JB up when we were in high school and make sure that we got home
Mm-hmm.
while our mothers were doing what they needed to do, you
Mm-hmm.
know. Um, we have, I know that I can speak for both of us. We have extended family members, aunts, uncles who stood in the gap for us when it
Mm-hmm.
was time to go to college. I mean, like community members.
Mm-hmm.
And that's still going on, but we're so individualistic.
Yes. Yes.
We're so individualistic, right? It's like the connection part, I don't think we realized how much we needed each other. And then it's kind of reinforced by coronavirus, right? It's like we had to really be apart to understand how much that connection is needed. So I'm so hopeful that we have learned some lessons from uh, our recent past, our very recent past with coronavirus, but also our recent past from drifting from our families and being so independent. We have that conversation so often, how we need each other. We felt like, oh, I don't need them, I don't, or we have differences of opinion. I want to do things this way, but we really need each other. We need each other as communities and as families.
I completely agree, and I want to say, I think the very interesting part is we talk about the westernization of us, but I think a part of it also comes from how we were split up during days of slavery. Because Alexis and I
Yes.
could talk about the fact that a lot of our people from home, our non-black classmates, moved back to our hometown so that they can be near their parents and so that they can have opportunities. But for us to really receive opportunities, our parents didn't teach us to stay. They taught us to go because they knew that the opportunities they wanted us to have weren't necessarily there. And what we've been really fortunate about is to have those kind of family members who are willing to hop on the road in a minute and come. But we can legitimately say that there are tons of people in the community who don't necessarily have that same kind of support or do not feel that is vital. And yes, it does affect our children. Identity
Mhm.
is everything, right? And so even your jobs could be a little bit easier. Look, family might not always be perfect, but if family is willing to come together, then the social worker can help everybody kind of get a sense of what they need to do to fulfill. So when when Miss Young drops that nugget about, you know, family coming back into alignment, I look at you all again and go, and then you all can just sit and show everybody, look, remember when your grandmother did this to you for you? Remember when your uncle showed you this? We have got to be refreshed on what it means to still be together as a people and to work together. So that's that, y'all just sharing once again. Okay, I know I'm saying some profound nuggets. That's my phrase, but I don't know what else to call it because they're just gems, right? That we all want to hear. And it's not me. The comments are like, this is good stuff. We really need to know. We got praise hands. So it's not me, okay? I'm telling you, it's some amazing stuff. I'm going to do one more question. We are at 8:19. This is what happens every time. And I like to take a few minutes to do the closing each night. And I always have a poem that I think sums up what our mission is through tonight. So I want to make sure to have time to do that. I know that you guys have other things to do. So while I could go on for 2 or 3 hours, I will not put you through that tonight. So the next question is, I think this would be a great one for us to know a little bit more about you all and how you manage it all. What is your favorite form of therapeutic practice for yourself? What is your favorite form of therapeutic practice for yourself? And whoever would like to start can start it. Oh, Mr. Wilson, let me turn on your mic. Okay, go ahead if you don't mind.
In form of favorite form, you talking about with clients or just for ourselves?
For yourself, what do you do to relax and
Oh,
get?
that's easy, man. I like going to Bayou Classics and football games and GSU, and rah rah rah, and and get it out of your system. You know that work. Even if we lose, I get a little something out of it. It's something about shouting and cheering, and then church services. I'm one of the ones in the church. I'm not gonna sit there and be quiet. I'm gonna wave a hand. I'm gonna say preach on or cheer the pastor on, and it's something about getting out of yourself, you know, and then shouting and expressing yourself, encouraging others. That's very therapeutic for me, and playing basketball with my grandson AJ. You don't know how much he blessed me with that. Just playing basketball, and he beats me every single time. He's only 8.
I love it. I know
Yeah.
that's so special to him too.
Thank
Look, grandparents are the best jewels ever, so I know that means a lot to him.
you. Yes.
So who else? I guess we'll go ahead and I'll go to Miss Young. Um,
Okay.
okay.
Okay. So for sure, the therapeutic practice for me that I use with clients is mindfulness meditation.
Yes, she does.
Hands down. I will mindfulness meditation people to, I mean, I don't want to say to death, but and so that's why Jamie is like, yes, yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm. It, I wake it has helped me so much. So I would when I started, and I was this person who felt like I am never gonna be able to sit still. I'm not gonna be able to do no meditation. I'm not no I share that because I'm always moving. But when I got it within myself that okay, I need to slow down, kind of going back to what I said earlier, like I need to slow down. I have to sow into myself if I want to be able to sow into others. It was it was like magic. It was like magic. I was more focused. I had more energy. I was less irritable at the end of the day. I was like, oh, this is worked wonders for me. It really has. So much so that I mean, I wake up earlier so that I have time. There's not an excuse for me not to have at least 15 minutes for me to do meditation and yoga for myself on weekdays. I mean, and so that's it for me.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Mr. Butler, how do you decompress after beating the pavement for everybody else?
Um, Probably number one would be basketball. Um, I try to play as much as I can. I get a couple days a week to play. If I'm not doing that, I love to read and study. So it's weird. I'll fall asleep on a YouTube video learning about World War II. Um, I don't know why I just like reading and learning. So if I'm doing that, and in particular if I get an opportunity to do it in my car, because my car is like classroom slash couch slash whatever. Y'all probably know about that. That's usually how I decompress. Nothing really outside of those things. Those are my favorite things to do.
That's awesome, 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 awesome. All right. And Miss Donna, what about you? What's your
I
favorite way to
med-
decompress?
I meditate twice a day when I first get up in the morning, and then again before I go to bed at night. And in the evenings when I come home from work, I light my candles, I turn on my music, and I sit in my sauna chair. So that is how I decompress from the day.
I thought that question was so important because, we've been digging into such deep conversation. And there are two things people gain from this. Number one, that everybody has to know when to take a break. And that you also have to find rest and peace for yourself so that you can continue to sow. And number two, that social workers are humans, just like everybody else. People literally get nervous when you say the word social worker. They're like, oh, but these are humans who have lives, who have families, who have hobbies, who have goals and desires, and really just want to see people go to the next level just like anybody else. The only difference is they have decided to commit themselves to actually getting out there on the grounds and doing this for humanity. I want to thank you guys for the tremendous work that you do. Alexis can tell you, I'm such a big believer in social workers. A part of my company is that I work to bridge the gap between community schools and the mental health community because I strongly believe in social emotional learning, especially in impoverished school environments. And as an English teacher of 13 years, one of my strongest methods for teaching was social emotional learning. But I was not at my best without constantly seeking nuggets and knowledge from counselors that could help me. I tried to have a strong relationship with my school counselors, and I never hesitated to take my students down to the counselor if they needed help. And I always tried to be a listening ear. Even all these years later, I still hear from my students if something is not right. But I believe in the power of trained professionals who can guide our kids and help them become better people and even help our adults become better people. And so I value every single thing that you do. I value what you bring to the lives of others. And I want to especially reach out to the men and tell you how much I appreciate you being here because having Black social worker males is still a jewel. It's still not the most common thing we see. And so your representation here tonight is so significant for men who are tuning in. And I thank both of you all from the bottom of my heart for being here. And I will probably reach out to you again in the future because Mr. Butler, you have such a profound story of coming through of being homeless and even being in the foster care system and getting where you are today. And Mr. Wilson, those nuggets of knowledge you have about Black culture and mental health care, we actually did a panel on that last month. So Alexis and I are constantly in that conversation. And both of these ladies know I'll harass them in a minute. And they've been so gracious to allow me to do so. But I definitely want to speak more with our men because there's so much more that needs to be done, not just for our older Black males, but for our young Black male students as well, because they too need guidance and support. I want to encourage you all to please continue to do the work that you are doing. And I want to encourage all the social workers who are tuning in today. So please continue doing what you're doing. You are greatly, greatly appreciated. Of course, I don't close out any of these conversations without sharing a poem with you. I want to first make sure to promote Trex, which is my latest novel that is set right here in Louisiana. And the main character is actually a Black social worker. And
Mm,
so your copy can be
good.
found on Amazon. And I believe this is the book that will revolutionize the conversation about Black families, race, and culture. And it starts right here in our home state. So please get your copy of Trex. Lastly, I want to make sure that I share a poem that I hope brings us into tonight's theme, which is talking about love, self care, mental health, and wellness. From this, I selected a book from my first, excuse me, a poem from my first book called My Journey. And I hope tonight that this touches someone in a positive way, and that if you are in need of any type of support, you can reach out to any of these social workers on my page. They are on Facebook. If you need to reach Mr. Wilson, are you on Facebook as well?
My kids said I shouldn't get on Facebook. They exempt me from getting on there. So, Daddy, no, don't do it, Daddy.
Well, you can reach out to me and we will partner you up with Mr. Wilson. So we do have social workers here for anybody who's in the audience that may need some guidance and assistance. And so I'm going to close out with a piece called My Journey, and I hope that it resonates with you as well. This life's here has been hard on me. There were times when someone else I begged to be. Feeling down, I cried to God for peace. From the pain, I wanted sweet release. Please, Lord, wipe the tears from my eyes and give me the easy route to my prize. Dirt all around on a supposed to be clear path, searching for cleanliness not found in a bath. My feet were weary from a fast walking pace, asking for just a little bit of God's sweet grace. Yet if there was no rain, I couldn't appreciate the sunshine and eventually the joy that would be mine. It's been such a long road with twists and turns. Some days I was lost on the path that I journeyed, a dusty, hard pebbled road with fallen leaves. Unexpected changes brought me to my knees. I kept treading the road, so often I was thinking of giving up, pleading for just a drop of water from my empty cup. Still, there's no doubt about what I wouldn't do. I wouldn't trade my tear stained dresses or my dusty shoes. And that is my tribute to social workers because at the end of the day, thank you so much. Thank you. Every single experience we have can be used to propel us forward. But in case we need people to help us along the way, our social workers are here. Alexis knows I'm already feeling emotional. This is probably my fifth discussion of the year, and coming into this room with Black intellectuals to bring light. We are not doing this for just Black people. We're doing this for the world. There are gifts we have as a culture that the world needs to receive. And I thank you to every person who receives an invitation to come, because my prayer is that these messages you share will resonate with people all around the world who need to know that there are Black professionals in so many different fields who can be inspirations and who can be helpful and who can help push forward mankind. Thank you guys so much for tuning in tonight. Thank you to the listeners and have a good night.
That's awesome. Can I give a shout out?
Yes, sir.
Shout
Sure.
out for the North Louisiana Association of Black Social Workers, our president, Mr. Antoine Butler. I wouldn't go to heaven without being a member of the Association of Black Social Workers. If you look like me, you ought to be a member. And you may register by what's the address, Antoine? How can they register? You muted. We can't hear you.
Hold on, hold on. There you go. Oh, there you go, Mr.
www.absw-nlrc.org. www.absw-nlrc.org. And I'm going to go ahead and bomb Jamie's uh, session right now. I would we have a Southwest Regional Conference coming up in October, and I would love for Jamie to read that poem at our Southwest Regional Conference.
Yeah.
Well, thank
I think it's appropriate. So
Hmm.
I'll have my wife. She's chairing that. I'm gonna have her to get in contact with you. I think it'd be so appropriate for what we're doing this year.
Oh, thank you. I would absolutely love it. Thank you.
Thank
I
you. Good
yes,
job.
I put the link as well. Oh, and so did Miss Butler. We have both put the link for the organization if you want to join. And as I said, if you would like to contact any of these social workers, you can reach out to us, or they are on social. Or they are on Facebook.
Thank you so
Anything else?
much.
Thank you, Jamie. Great job, Jamie.
Thank you so much. You all.